Hey everybody, how's it going? Mike from the Focus Garage coming at you today, and in this video we're going to be giving you a little bit of an update as to what has happened from the cars of Focus Garage. Now, I know it's been a while since I've done a vehicle update, so I want to give that to you now. We've covered the last few videos going over the motorcycles and everything like that, so let's just go ahead and jump straight into the car side of things. Now, the last car video I kind of filmed was like with the RS3 and the Ford Maverick, and I want to let you know that the Ford Maverick is still around. We've got over 10,000 miles on that now, so we're going to be doing a follow-up update on the Maverick where we've got 11,000 miles on it, going over everything there. And then we had the RS3, obviously, and the RS3 has been sold. We were reaching a point where I felt like I had done everything I wanted to with that RS3. I had done my Smoky Mountains trip. It was an absolute blast with it. I had done my quarter-mile racing. I got my 10.6 at like 133 miles an hour. And, you know, I got in the car. It was stage 1. I built it up to stage 2 and everything like that. And, you know, we had gotten to a point where if I was going to go any farther, I would have had to want to do a big turbo on it. And a big turbo on those requires a built motor. And a built motor is kind of just a losing return on investment value proposition there. So we stopped, you know, kind of enjoyed the car where it was with the stage 2 93 octane, stage 2 E85 for a little bit. And we decided that after there, you know, the market was strong on those. The car was still low mile, and I wanted to sell it. So I did. I posted it for sale on a bunch of different Facebook groups. And after a little bit over a month, I had found somebody interested to come and purchase a vehicle. It's actually a younger guy out from Massachusetts who flew in and made the drive back the like 18 hours or whatever he said it was going to take him on his own. So all power to him. I've stayed in contact with him a little bit since he bought the car, and it seems to have been good for him since. And that's the end of that one. You know, we owned that car for about a year and a half. It was a fantastic car. I'm so glad I had the experience. But, you know, I'd sold it, one, in kind of expectation of the values of them dropping a little bit, which they kind of have since. You know, I sold mine about 2 months ago, and if you look at the market now, they're worth a little bit less. But two, I want to kind of prepare myself for my next purchase. So, like, I do this a lot, right? It's a cyclical, like a cycle, where I'll get like something that's kind of, you know, fast but not engaging to drive, and then I'll end up missing something engaging to drive, so I flop back, you know, to the opposite side of things. So, you know, as I was selling that, I'm like, you know, maybe I'm going to replace this car with something that's manual, rear-wheel drive, stuff like that. So I was looking at like ATS-Vs, M2 competition, Camaro ZL1, stuff like that. But obviously, as all of you know, the market on used cars is still crazy, right? Like, stuff is very, very expensive. Interest rates are at an all-time high, and I just didn't feel comfortable purchasing anything. So I sold the RS3, and I'm like, you know what? We're going to wait. We're just going to kind of not buy anything, and then once the market readjusts, we'll be in a better shape to buy something. And that's what I had done for all of 2 weeks, and the bug bit, and I've always wanted a turbocharged Miata. And those of you who've followed for a while or know me personally know that I've owned 2 Miatas. I've owned an NA and an NB, but something I've always wanted was a turbocharged NA or NB, or even better yet, a Mazdaspeed Miata. For those of you that don't know, there is a factory turbocharged Miata. It's called the Mazdaspeed MX-5. Miata's not even in the title. It was made for 2 years only, 2004 and 2005, and there's roughly like 5,200 of them ever made, so it's a pretty uncommon car. So in the short time that I had sold the RS3 and decided that I wanted a turbocharged Miata, I started looking for, you know, like a nice Mazdaspeed. So I'm searching, and I find one kind of local to me in Madison, Wisconsin. It's a couple hours away, and I decide to check it out. Well, I'm sure for the astute viewer, you guys can tell that I'm sitting in a Miata, and the black and red seats are probably a giveaway that this is a Mazdaspeed Miata. So, yes, I found a Mazdaspeed Miata, and my whole thought process with this is that it's going to give me that boosted Miata experience that I've always wanted, and it'll give me something that I can kind of tinker with and modify a little bit because, you know, it's a factory turbocharged vehicle, while at the same time not being $50,000, $60,000 invested into a car that I have to have a loan on, that I'm paying interest on, everything like that. And it still gives me something that's, one, fun to drive, it makes fantastic noises, as I'll show you guys here in a minute, and it still gives me, you know, that driver engagement and everything like that. So that's kind of how I landed into getting one of these Miatas here. Now, the cool thing about it is this is a very, very clean example of a car. It's lived in the South pretty much its whole life. It didn't come up to the North till 2021. It's never seen a winter, so there's absolutely no rust starting, anything like that on this car. The zinc-plated bolts underneath are still zinc-plated. It's really cool to find a NB in this kind of condition. It's got about 80,000 miles on it, and it does already have some cool stuff done to it, as we'll go over. Car's got a downpipe, it's got an intake, some good suspension mods, coilovers, sway bars, all sorts of stuff like that. And you know, it's been a blast to drive so far, and I can't wait to dig into it a little bit more. Now, ever since I've purchased this car, again, still, vehicular ADHD is very, very strong for me. So since I've purchased this, I've been looking forwards as to, you know, what I'd be getting after this. Am I going to replace this or just add or anything like that? And honestly, after this car, I think I do kind of want to finally mess around with Porsches. You know, I've considered Cayman, and one of the things that I go back and forth with about the whole Cayman aspect of it is, do you want, you know, the purity of the flat six, or do you want the more modern car with a little bit more power, usable power, and tunability of the turbocharged four-cylinder? A lot of people say that takes away from the purity of these Porsche Caymans. Other people say it doesn't matter because it's, you know, essentially a better driving car. You have more usable torque. You can mod it to make more power and everything like that, but it doesn't have that really cool high revving, you know, flat six sound. So that's something that, you know, you got to consider and look at when you're weighing all of your options here. Those are holding value extremely strong right now, so I'm not sure if it's something that I'm going to be doing right now, waiting, whatever. But in the meantime, this Mazdaspeed Miata, they have a pretty small factory IHI turbocharger. It is a boosted version of the non-variable cam timing 1.8. So it's a 1.8 engine, you know, the BP series of engine from Mazda. Again, I'll show you guys all of it here in a second, but here, let's see if we can get you guys some boost. Hang on, we'll roll in a third. You'll have to let me know if you can hear the sounds of that. With this car, I should probably mic up the engine bay just to let you really hear what it sounds like, but it's a really, really pure driving experience. And this being my third Miata, they really, really do feel like go-karts. So these made, I think, like 170, 180 horsepower at the crank stock. With the stock turbo, you can do your basic bolt-ons like downpipe, intercooler, you know, a few other things here and there, intake, charge piping, and you can make 200 to like 220 wheel depending on what your setup is. And for a car that only weighs 2,300 pounds, that's a good amount of power. Like I said, this car's already got some mods done to it, and the way that I explain it to people is this literally feels like the power level that a Miata should have from the factory. Like, I know a Miata is not a power car, not a numbers car, or anything like that, but you know, if you've ever been in one, they definitely don't feel fast, they don't feel peppy, they have enough power, but this kind of fills it in and gives it that torque that they feel like they're missing. And it's great. They can make about like 8 to 10 PSI of boost on this turbo. If you want to beef it up and do a bigger turbo, you could do a little bit more before having to build the motor. The rear end in these and the diff is more stout than a regular Miata. It's got more bracing. You know, it's the stiffest Miata made up until this point. It's really like the best NB that you can buy, in my opinion. This one also so happens to come in a fantastic color called Velocity Red Mica. I'll show you that in the sunlight here in a second. I bought the car. It did not have a hardtop. It was just a soft top only. So I went ahead and I sourced a hardtop, got it painted to match. It's close, but not close enough for my standards. So here you can see we've got the car from the outside. It is called Velocity Red Mica. And as you can see in this paint, there is this crazy kind of red-orange flake to it. And we've got really bright lighting right now to kind of show it off. So you can see the hardtop, especially on this camera, is a little bit off. Again, the only way I was going to get it perfect is if I left it the whole car with the painter, and then you're going to be worrying about a body shop damaging your car and everything like that. So I didn't want to go that route, so I decided to just kind of drop the top off on their own, let them scan the paint code, and you know, go from there with it. But this is a car, we're lowered on tine coilovers. We've got Enkei RPF 1s. You can also see here with the Mazdaspeed Miatas, you've got the little intercooler right in there. We're going to be upgrading that and doing a few other mods to it. But again, it's got sway bars, it's got a few other things to it, and it is just overall really, really clean. These get a lot of rot going on right there. They get rot going on in the front frame rails up there, in the bottom of the front fenders. A lot of different places that these would normally get rot, this does not have. Show you guys the interior real quick, because this is actually one of my favorite things about this car, is we've got kind of the red accenting with it. So you can get these with all leather black seats, but this car's got kind of the red door panels, and then you can see the red seats here. It's got the really, really nice condition red accent Nardi steering wheel, the white face Mazdaspeed gauges. I'm going to be cleaning up that horrible aux install that a previous owner did for the radio there. But again, 6-speed manual, very, very nice shape interior here. Got the Mazdaspeed kick plates. It's just really neat because, like I was saying earlier, a lot of people didn't even know that these existed. It's not called a Miata, it's just a Mazdaspeed MX-5. And they didn't make a whole lot of them just because they were about to come out with the NC Miata, and they didn't want to overshadow that, you know, with this vehicle. So here's kind of what we got. Just wanted to introduce this vehicle to the channel before we get too far into anything else with what we're doing with it, so that way no one's surprised about, you know, where it came from or what's going on there. With that being said, we're going to be doing a update video on the Maverick as well, how my ownership experience has been with that, and what are my thoughts on that so far. But this is the Mazdaspeed Miata that we've got on the channel here now. We're going to be enjoying this car, at least for the time that we've got it, kind of taking that stock turbo, pushing a little bit further, and then if we want to go even more with it, maybe we'll do that as well. But thanks for checking this one out. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a good one.